Hello. I recently made some little cards to advertise my YouTube channel. And on the back, I've put a little strapline saying, "Inspiration for living happily during challenging times." And that's really what my channel's about. Supporting people, trying to help people, connect people to live more happily, even when times are difficult. So at the moment in the world, we've got some really tough times going on. Things like the Ukraine and Russia and other countries that probably most of us watching this live in, being drawn into these situations and things that are just out of our control, nothing that we have a huge influence on. But the thing we do have some control and some influence on is ourselves. And so I believe that with these bigger things that happen in the world, the most useful thing we can do during those times really is to come back into ourselves and to really look at what we do and how we behave in our day-to-day lives. Because quite often what you're seeing is the big picture with countries warring and arguing against each other, or leaders doing that and other people getting drawn into that situation, really mirrors what we do in our own lives day to day. And if we can sort ourselves out a bit and bring our day-to-day lives into a more balance and be more aware of what we're doing and how we're reacting to things, then I think that can have a snowball effect. It certainly helps us to feel happier, probably helps those around us to feel happier, and hopefully it makes the world a better place. And if we were all able to do that and you just took that on, then you wouldn't have wars and people disagreeing with each other in that way. So for that reason, I think it's important to look at it. And this was brought home to me more recently because I've got involved in a little group to try and get a community shop in our village. Our village shop closed about a month ago. A lot of people are really missing it. It was so handy to have this little shop. And so people have got together, had little meetings, and then more recently a bigger community meeting to look at the problem of not having a shop and to see if there's anything we can do. We've got various ideas like having some kind of community run shop, maybe with volunteers, and it's very early days. But I've done a lot of project work in the past when I lived in England and not so much in France mainly because of the lack of the language really. Yeah, so I haven't done as much of that since we've moved to France. But recently got involved in this because it's something I care about and I think it's really important that we have access to shops locally. But having been involved in a project again, it reminded me very strongly of what it's like. So when you try and work in a group, it's much more challenging, bringing you into contact with different people, different cultures in this situation, lots of different ideas and ways of doing things. And we all tend to have our fixed idea of what we think is the best thing, either the best end result or the best way of achieving that result. And particularly the speeds we go at, some people are really like, hey, come on, let's do this now. Others are much more, come on, slow and steady, build the strong foundation. And I think both those things are of value, but it's how we come together and work together to bring out the best in everyone so that everyone works to their skills and helps the project. And I think some of the best projects are those where you get a real mixture of people, but the challenge is trying to work together on them. And what I realised is, of course, a lot of us living here are so used to working on our own or in a couple and not in groups and just achieving what we want to achieve. And so then you put those personalities into a group situation and we've still got that mentality quite strongly. But I also think it's a very common human way of being, and I think it's our huge problem for humanity, the fact that we struggle so much to find common dreams to get behind, that we can all get behind and work for that common goal. So I think it is something that's worth us all looking at and exploring and being aware of in ourselves and seeing if we can find ways to do it and to overcome these difficulties of communication. Because in the end, it's all about communication. And none of us are perfect. And we've all been through lots of life things. Some people have been through big life traumas, some smaller life things. But all those things are triggered when you're trying to do something that you believe strongly in and you think this is the way. And if someone else is saying, no, not that, this, then it triggers these very basic but powerful emotions in us, very defensive, very emotional, a lot of emotion there. And it's almost like our bodies go into this thing of it is about our existence. It's about our very existence to get it done our way or to achieve our particular dream. And I think working with those things, if we can work with those things and look at it and just sort of in those moments, just become more aware, relax a bit, let go of things being done just in our own particular way, accept that other people have different ideas and they could be positive things to bring. The other big thing I think to accept is to not be too attached to that final outcome, certainly in the process, because none of us really can ever know what the final outcome of anything is. And especially a project with a lot of people, there's so many variables in there that although it's great to have something to work towards, and if you can find this common dream that you're all working towards, bringing your own unique skills and doing it in your own way, that's fantastic. But also acknowledging that none of us absolutely know whether something will be successful, unsuccessful, exactly what it will look like could be very different because of so many factors. And certainly if you're doing something for a whole community, you're working with many, many factors which are going to affect that. So I think by letting go a little bit, being aware of those emotions that are coming up, trying to relax, reduce our stress levels, because it's the stress as well that makes us all go a bit, a little bit crazy at times. And I think that's maybe really helpful. And I think there's also a real benefit in us really trying to keep working with difficult situations. So, because I know for myself, if I get in a situation that I don't like and I feel there's conflict or people just not doing what I want to do, my tendency is to want to leave the situation. It's like, this is too difficult, I want to leave it. And yeah, so I think for the world, there is a real value in us taking the time just to work out that between ourselves and what we can do, and to not always run from the conflict, take some space, but also it's worth trying to resolve it in some way and find different ways to work together and to accept each other. Because at any time, in any conflict, it can change. It can change just by someone reacting in a different way, doing something differently. This conflict we have at the moment with Russia and the Ukraine and everyone else, is like at any point that can change. It can be different. It's not an inevitable conclusion that we just have to go on and on escalating the conflict. It can change at any moment. And sometimes within our own lives, we've had experiences of conflicts we were in, situations we were in with other people that actually changed quite quickly because one side or the other, or ideally both sides, had that intention, that will, that wish to change something, for it to be different. And I think even in any conflict, if you're not sure what to do, if you have the will of wanting the situation to change or wanting to forgive someone, you might not know at all how you're going to do it and how you're going to get to that point, but having that intention is very, very powerful. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in other people's lives. There's something in that. We don't understand everything in the world, but intention is really powerful. So just the fact that you think, I want this situation to be different, can have an effect and can change something. In fact, it's something that might even be fun just to experiment with. Just try it. If you've got a situation in your own life at the moment with someone that's difficult, just try taking a different approach to the one you've been using. Or just have the intention that you would like it to be better and see what happens. And I'd be really interested to hear about any of that in the comments down below. If you've known situations in your own life where that's happened, or if you try and do that now, let me know. Let's share this stuff because it's really important. We've got a lot of power within ourselves to make the world a better place. There is always, always hope, and there's always ways of doing things differently, even when situations seem very extreme and very bad. So lots of love. Have a really good week. If you like these videos, there's a couple more here. Subscribe, ring the bell if you want to be notified when I make new ones. Bye.